Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the Public Health and Safety Committee to order at 5:16 PM. The first item on the agenda is to select a chairperson for the 2022-2024 term. Are there any nominations for chair? Alder McElhaney?
I'd like to nominate Lisa Rasmussen, and I'd like to say a couple comments, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you. The reason I am nominating Alder Rasmussen is that this is my 7th year of being on this committee. I have been on for the last 3 terms, and this committee is different from any other committee. I've been on CISM, I've been on HR, I'm chair of HR, I've been on transit. I've been on other committees, and this committee is a lot of processes, and processes that have to be done correctly every time. There is a huge learning curve, and I feel that those processes need to stay in the hand of somebody who knows those processes. And I have never had an issue with Alder Rasmussen putting something on the agenda for me, nor has she not called on me or allowed me to vote no or whatever else. So that is my reasoning behind this. I know that there have been some talk about double chairmanships and stuff, but this committee is there's a lot of quasi hearings. There's dog bite hearings. There's rent abatement. There's liquor licenses. There's tavern licenses, and those have specific protocols that are not going to be able to be learned on the fly. So that is why I have nominated Alder Rasmussen, if she accepts. Thank you.
Alder Rasmussen, do you accept the nomination?
I'll accept. I also have a nomination.
Okay.
I will nominate Alder Becky McElhaney. I believe that she has an equivalent volume of experience.
Okay, Alder McElhaney, do you accept the nomination? Are there any other nominations for chair? Alder Larson?
I would like to nominate Alder Doug Denny.
Okay. Alder Denny, do you accept the nomination for chair?
I guess I should put my money where my mouth is, and yes, I will.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for chair? Okay. Is there a motion to close the nominations?
I also make the motion.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. So now I will hand out a piece of paper if you want to write down between Alder Rasmussen, Alder McElhaney, and Alder Denny who you would like to serve as the chair, and then we will tally the results. Okay, with a vote of 3-2, Alder Rasmussen will serve as the chair for the 2022-2024 term. So now I will turn the meeting over to Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. We'll squeeze through. It's fine. We'll get there. Thank you, everyone, for reappointing me as chair. I will do my best. Item number 2 is, well, item number 1 is still to select a vice chair for the committee. At this time, we'll open up nominations for vice chair. Alder Larson.
I nominate Alder Doug Denny.
Okay, we'll take nomination for Alder Denny. Is there any other nominations? Other nominations? Seeing none, if there's only one nomination, are we in agreement that we'll cast a unanimous ballot for Doug Denny to be the vice chair? Okay, so appointed. Congratulations, Alder Denny. Okay, then next is to establish a regular meeting date and time for the 2022 to 2024 term. The committee traditionally has always met on the third Monday at 5:15. That, though, is adjustable if this time doesn't work for our members. Is everybody okay with this particular time slot? Go ahead,
Are
Chad.
these only also once a month?
They are once a month,
Okay.
yes.
I will let you know if I need it pushed back.
Yes.
But I think we'll keep it here.
We can do the same as we did in SISM. So if you have a conflict, typically during the summer months, Alder Henne has indicated that he may have a conflict certain nights, but we'll know when those are, and we can adjust our start time accordingly if necessary. So absent that conflict, though, 5:15, the third Monday, is okay then for everyone? Okay, I see nodding. We'll agree by consensus to set that as our normal time, and if we need some adjustments, we can certainly make those. Item number 3 is to approve the minutes of our previous meeting, which was 4/18 of '22, copies of which are in the packets. Any revisions necessary for the minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to accept the minutes. Motion to accept from McElhaney, is there a second? Second by Henne. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None are opposed. The minutes are approved. Item number 4 is to consider approval or denial of various license applications, including annual liquor licensed establishment renewals for 2022 to 2023. And there are a couple of denials recommended for this evening. By our ordinance, those individuals recommended for denial have the right to address the committee and explain their situation. Let's see, is Katrina Peltier? Katrina Peltier, if you want to come up to the front, state your name and address for the record, and I guess talk to us a little bit about your situation. The committee has received your record and the chief's recommendation. Is there anything on your record that is factually inaccurate?
No, it's accurate.
Okay,
Sorry, I'm really bad at this kind of stuff. I hate publicly speaking.
it's okay, it's okay. My guess is that the denial recommendation is coming from perhaps the totality of the record and the recent nature of some of the violations.
Yes. I'm currently taking it to trial. I am innocent in it, and I will be proven innocent. I have a really strong case, but I won't speak on that because it's still pending.
Okay?
But I do work for Eagles Club. It is a nonprofit organization. They do a lot of charity events, good causes, and I love to be a part of that.
Okay. When is your court date for that other stuff?
The last one, the trial date, September 14th.
Okay. Because the server license really, all that means is that you can be in control of the establishment alone. But without a license, you still can work there. You just have to be with another licensed person
Right.
when you're on duty. So if the denial recommendation would be upheld tonight, know that perhaps once that court case wraps itself up, if that does take care of itself, you certainly could reapply anytime. So,
Okay.
and committee members, do you have
Madam Chair?
questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm kind of new at the job here.
Hi.
You're applying for, I take it, a bartender's license, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Additional questions for Ms. Peltier? Chief Bliven, do you have any remarks about the denial recommendation?
Yes, I would just say that based on the conviction history, there are 6 drug convictions over the last, since 2017, so over the last 5 years. So even excluding the pending felony possession of methamphetamine, I would still recommend a denial just in terms of consistency and recommendations that I've made in the past.
Okay. And that is one thing, that to be in control of an establishment versus, we've had discussions before about tavern service versus retail and the level of responsibility that comes with in-person service for immediate consumption versus package sales. And I think that, that's one thing we look at is the degree of responsibility that comes with being in control of a licensed establishment by yourself.
Right.
So that certainly is a factor.
Could I say a couple things?
Sure.
I have been clean for quite some time. I have proof of rehabilitation. I have a certificate completing rehab. I believe it was 2020 December 31st or no, 21st. I have it on my phone. We forgot the printout. My boss came with me today. I did get reunified with my child. That's very hard to do, and they wouldn't do that if I wasn't clean or doing well. That's pretty much just what I wanted to say. I'd just give it a shot.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we done?
Yep,
Yeah, okay.
yep. And the other recommended denial is public transport driver Patrick Lind. Is Patrick Lind with us this evening? Come on up, Patrick. And is there anything on your record that is factually inaccurate?
There is not.
Okay. I guess, too, we're looking also at the totality of the record and the recentness of some of it. Clearly, when people enter a public transport vehicle with you, sometimes those people are dependent upon that driver to get them where they need to go. There's a reason perhaps sometimes that they're not driving. And so we also then hold those license holders to a high standard of responsibility. I guess, why would you propose that the committee would not uphold the chief's recommendation?
I thank you for your time.
Sure.
And I understand the chief's position in keeping the public safe. For about a month now, I have been servicing the Weston, Schofield, Rothschild, Mosinee, Rib Mountain area. My record is quite lengthy. I did get out of prison in 2013, did extensive supervision, probation, completed with no violations at all. 2019, I had a relapse, and I was in jail from January until June. I have been out on bond since June 12th, 2020. I have not received a ticket. I do not have any new charges since being released. I am currently on supervision within Marathon County. I did provide my probation agent's name and number. She is out of office. I did try to get a recommendation, but it's hard to reach her. As I said, I respect the chief's decision, and what is said here is just, final. I am trying to make a way of life within this business. I currently dispatch as well as drive in the surrounding areas. I have no, basis for appeal because I still have two counties pending with the burglaries. I just ask for consideration on the progress I've made.
Okay. All right. Thank you for coming in. Chief, do you have any comments on the denial recommendation?
I just reiterate, based on Mr. Lynn's burglary history, and in addition, in 2020, a conviction for felon in possession of a firearm, those are really relatively recent, and just in terms of consistency, again, I would recommend denial.
Correct. Thank you. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Lind? Okay, seeing none, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
With that, the committee has the option to move to consider either Ms. Peltier or Mr. Lind separately from the pack if they wish. If not, we can leave those in the pack and act on them all as a group. Absent a separate motion, I'll accept a motion to accept or deny licenses as recommended by staff.
I do have a question. Can
Go
I
ahead,
get-
Doug, sure.
They do have one more chance to come before council if they wanted.
Correct?
Okay.
And, yes, and then like with pending court cases, once that date has come and passed, they can always reapply as well. So there's not a blackout period that they can't reapply within a certain period of time or anything like that. The denial isn't necessarily for an entire year if something changes on the record or changes with their court cases, and that we certainly can get a new application in from these people. Okay, Lou?
Madam Chair, Lord knows I've had many second chances in my life, and I think I'm just going to have to go with the chief's recommendations here, because I don't think there's been enough time that has lapsed in between to show that, if you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
to
it's
show
been-
that
it's fairly
you
recent.
can be responsible in this
Indeed.
position. So I'm going to have to go with what the chief and the committee decides.
Okay, understood. Do we have a motion to accept or deny as recommended by staff? Motion by McElhaney. Is there a second? Second by Larson. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? None are opposed, so that item passes. The two licenses that were recommended for denial stand denied. By our ordinance, though, both of those applicants have a right to appeal to the full city council at their next regular meeting, which is May 24th at 6:30 PM in this chamber. So if you decide that you'd like to appeal to the council, you have that right. So thank you, both of you, for coming in. And that particular vote then also took care of all of the renewals for Class A and Class B premises that renew July 1st, and it also took care of the list of events for the summer season. So we were able to get a lot done with one vote there. Okay, so number 5 is consider Central Business District Obstruction Permit from Oz Nightclub at 320 Washington Street. And we had held this item over from last month. We were actually hoping that someone from Oz could come and discuss with us the situation with the tables and chairs. We had some questions. First, whether they were tables and chairs or benches, and then really what the intent is, because there were some concerns, not only about the placement, but there was some concerns about littering if they're being used for the purposes of smoking, and smoking materials are not properly disposed of and extinguished. And there was also a concern about beverage being carried out the front door to the tables. So do we have anybody with us from Oz this evening to talk about the request for the sidewalk obstruction? And this really, the discussion, I don't see anyone. The discussion we had last month, I guess the sticking point for us was all of the establishments downtown that have sidewalk cafe permits are restaurants. Those sidewalk cafe permits are made for restaurants so that they can have outdoor beverage service with a meal. This is the first tavern that has ever requested a sidewalk obstruction for tables and chairs. And so there was, some concern there about the utility of them. We have had some issues with establishments where there would be confusion created, I think, between the restaurants that are allowed to have beverage out on the sidewalk and then, why doesn't the tavern? So we've never allowed them for taverns because a sidewalk cafe permit is not available to bars. And that's why this one is for a sidewalk obstruction, much like you would use for sandwich board signs or, tables and chairs and things like that. But it certainly would not allow any beverage service or anything. Have we heard anything, Mary, have you heard anything back from us since we deferred last month?
I talked to Melissa, and she had told me she was calling him about something regard to that, and that she would tell him that we wanted him here at the committee. So whether she did that, that's what she told me, that she was calling him that same day, and she said she would tell him to come, that we held it over.
Okay.
So I'm not sure why he's not here.
Okay. The summer season is long. I mean, we have a choice. We can hold action on it until we have someone, obviously they won't be able to do it until we approve it, rather than vote it down without some input from them. You have the option to defer action until they could get someone here, and of course them not being here to answer our questions really does delay their ability to use these things if we would approve them. But we are just getting into the start of that summer season. So normally when we allow this stuff, we allow it through October 31st. So they'd have a lot of time to use them yet. If they could get someone here to talk with us next month, we could wait if you want. Lou?
Madam Chair, how many months has this been deferred?
Just one. It was new last month.
It was new last month.
Right,
And were
so
they
we were
here
hoping
last
to have
month?
someone here tonight, but no one is.
Were they here last month?
No.
I guess I'm kind of apprehensive at this point to continue this. If they were really into this, they would be here at the last two meetings.
Yeah.
And plus the fact that it's being a bar, how are they going to police this to keep the sidewalk clean of cigarette butts and keep the people from not carrying drinks outside? And that, you know, this also being downtown, you know, I have concerns that, you know, that they're not here. I don't see any reason why we should persist on this another month.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and they certainly could reapply. I mean, if, you know, if they have more information to offer us than what we have, but, you know, we did have a rudimentary diagram in the packets for where they would sit, you know, on both sides of the planter, basically, but we have questions that still remain unanswered. If you're feeling like you would like to deny it and, you know, start this process over at a future date, you have that option. Becky and then Doug.
I guess, did they pay the $20 for the application? I don't want to deny and then have them come back. I don't, because we don't know if they connected. We don't have that, we don't have positive that we had a connection with them to be here. I don't, you know, I'm sure that she tried, but I don't know if she got through or whatever. So that's my concern is to, you know, for them to reapply. But I do have a concern about 2 tables and 10 chairs outside for smoking. That seems excessive to me. I mean, I think that was what was stated last month as well. We thought it was going to be bench, you know, a bench to sit, which made sense, you know, to go out. But, you know, their design is two tables and 10 chairs, which seems excessive for smoking only. But I would like to, I guess I don't want to, I'd rather table it myself than to deny due to the fact that, you know, we have no confirmation that there was
Good communication.
good communication.
Okay. What are your thoughts, committee? Because really, I mean, even if you defer action, nothing really happens out there. So assuming that no connection is made and they're not here next month, you know, at that point, you could vote to deny if you wish. Chad? Oh, I'm sorry. Doug,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
would move that we table this indefinitely or until they remake contact.
To the next, you can do it to the next meeting. At least then that resolves the issue for the summer if you want.
Alder Hinkie has.
Yeah, I'll modify that then to the next meeting, sure.
Okay. That just buys them a month and it gives our staff time to reach out to them one last time to give them a fair chance to explain. Chad, go ahead.
I was just going to say, move it back one more month. I'm a fan of baseball, 3 strikes and you're out.
Well-
So this is only strike 2.
That's right, that's true, that's true. So I'm a baseball fan too, so I love that, thank you. Okay, so with that, do we have a second to Doug's motion to table? Second by McElhaney. Further discussion? Members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? None are opposed. So we'll hold that for the next meeting. If we don't see them or hear from them by the next meeting, then we're going to make a final decision, because by then we'll be to the start of the season where they would need that. Item number 6 is consider request for an outdoor party, May 21st, 2022, for Matt's 101 Pub. And we have Matt Brewer with us, who owns Matt's 101 Pub. If you have questions for him, he's got some info in the packets about a little food truck event in the parking lot. So
Yes,
welcome. Tell us about your event.
thanks. So it'll be Saturday, May 21st. It'll go from noon to 4 p.m. We'll have a one-person band inside the bar, and we'll be utilizing, or look to utilize, the east parking lot in a roped-off area. So it's very clearly seen that the area is sectioned off. We'll have a large tent there. When I say large, it's like 15 by 20. It'll fit inside that area as well.
Okay.
And I'll have table and chairs, and we'll have outdoor games. And like I said, like you had mentioned, we're looking to partner with a local food truck to manage the food on our behalf and be there at the event. So it may trail off a few hours after the 4 p.m. Hour, but that's when the food and the music would stop. So we would anticipate, more people being gone by around 6 p.m. Our night crowd isn't half as large as our day crowd, but we have grown quite a crowd in the last year that we've been open.
Okay, and you were working on an outdoor service area anyway, right, for a patio type thing out there?
We were. Last year, I was given approval to have a liquor license for that area. We started working on the design, and it's become much more extensive. It started out at about $11,000 event. Now, it'll be over $100,000 invested in the building.
Oh, my gosh, okay.
So we come tomorrow night to get approval for conditional use for that,
Okay,
that space.
I was going to say, then your ask for more time makes a little sense on that too, so. Okay, committee members, any questions for Matt about his event for the weekend? it sounds reasonable. We've approved these for other establishments, especially when they're during the middle of the day, and, they're not particularly noisy, and it's not late night or anything.
And just for context, this same establishment, when it was owned prior to me, had a number of events just like this with
Yep.
similar type of activities, and they seem to have gone over well with no issues that I'm aware.
Well, and the neighbors know you. I mean,
Yes,
so
very well.
that's helpful.
We have good neighbors.
Okay, sounds good. Committee members, any questions on that? Go ahead, Lou.
I make a motion that we allow this event to happen.
Okay, we have a motion from Larson to approve the event, second by Henny. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None are opposed, that item carries. Thank you
You all
for
have a good
coming
night.
in. Okay, let's see here. Then we have item number 6, consider request for outdoor summer entertainment from the Glass Hat. And do we have Gisela Marks with us for this? Okay. So
I
we,
talked to her.
you did?
Yeah.
Okay, can you summarize your conversation? Because I know that we had approved an outdoor seating area for them, and now this would add
Yes.
music to that same spot? Is
Yeah.
that?
She doesn't have them all booked yet, so she was trying to come up with some kind of schedule of when she's proposing, which I have on that memo. She said not necessarily that they'll all happen, but it would be just like a small type band. Quiet, she said, and she just wanted to put those dates out there that in the event that she could get something booked, that she would be allowed to do it.
Okay. Did she say which hours? I didn't see, I saw the dates, but did she say roughly what time? They wouldn't run this till bar time out there, I
Oh,
assume.
no, I thought she talked about that at the last meeting.
Because with downtown approvals, we ask them normally to stop by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of discussed when she was here about her.
It was, and we had
Yeah.
asked her to articulate a little bit more of a fleshed-out plan, so,
Right.
obviously if we were to give approval, we can request that outdoor entertainment stop at 10.
And I can tell her that.
Yeah, because they are in a residential neighborhood, so we don't want to get too out of hand over there. Anybody have questions on the request from Glass Hat?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm just wondering if we could not maybe bring that time back to, say, 9:30 instead of 10. That way, too, it would, just as Matt indicated, give the people time to unwind and clear out by 10 o'clock. So being that it is a residential area,
Right.
that would be my
I
suggestion.
think with her outdoor seating, she has permission to have people out there
She does?
the whole time, right, until
Yeah.
bar time.
Yeah.
So as long as they stop the music, people could still be out there. They just wouldn't run the band or the DJ until, past 10 o'clock. That kind of dials the whole thing down if it's just people sitting out talking versus entertainment outside.
Right.
Becky?
I'll make a motion to accept with the caveat that the music needs to stop at 10 PM.
Okay. We have a motion to allow the outdoor entertainment with the condition that music stop at 10 PM. Is there a second? Second by Denny. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None are opposed. That motion carries as well. Okay. That brings us to item number 8, which is discussion and possible action on a presentation from the Wausau Police Department on the status of homelessness outreach and interactions. We'd had some discussion last month on a report that we had gotten from Chief Bliven, and subsequent to that, I had asked him to, he and Deputy Chief Barnes, to put together a presentation for us that really talks a little bit about, first, the outreach work that Officer Lemerand was doing and the measure of success that he was having. And, now we have a void there for part of this year, and contrast that with what we're seeing, because we know, based on our prior discussions, that we are expecting a staffing request from them to convert that position to a civilian social work type outreach coordinator. And so I think that it helps if we all understand the situation a little bit better, we'll make informed decisions about those requests when they come to the council floor. So I guess, Chief, did you want to start us off with the presentation and then we can run your video, or?
Yeah, Yes, that would be fine. I have the video kind of in the middle of my presentation, if that's acceptable. I have a slide where it
Perfect,
says
yep.
video, and we can play it at that point.
Okay.
So I just have a, kind of a brief outline PowerPoint, just to kind of keep me on task, honestly. So there are a lot of issues that we're experiencing in the downtown area. Like Chair Rasmussen had mentioned, last week, Monday, I was at the Human Resources Committee requesting that they approve a community outreach specialist position to replace the work that Officer Eric Lemerand was doing. So I gave a presentation at the Human Resources Committee last week, Monday, about that position, and the Human Resources Committee did approve that position, so that is pending the Finance Committee discussion, which should happen next week, Tuesday, before the city council meeting. So that is in the works. So this next slide identifies part of the discussion that I had at the Human Resources Committee, just to kind of quantify the amount of police resources that are being used for response to homeless issues in the city of Wausau, and specifically in our downtown area. And the information that I included on this slide is the same information I used at the Human Resources Committee meeting. The additional information that's on here was at the request of Alder Killian, and that is the number of calls for service that we had, not just the number of hours that we've spent on those responses. So as you can see, in comparison between February and April of 2021 compared to this year, February to April of 2022, we've spent a lot more time and had a lot more calls for service regarding homelessness in our community. And so just to give you some context to these numbers, we don't have a great system in place to be able to track the amount of time that we've spent on calls involving homeless individuals. So the way that this is researched and taken out of our computer-aided dispatch system is we do a keyword search for the word homeless. So anytime an officer responds to a call for service, they have the ability to enter in comments. And so that just kind of informs, informs the community, informs other officers that may respond in the future to a specific address, what happened, just to kind of give that additional information. So if they use the word homeless in those comments, then we're able to, that's where this information comes from. So definitely it is underreporting the amount of time that we spend in response to the calls in our community around homelessness. I would say in addition to that, we do daily extra patrols, both at the library and at the parking ramp in Jefferson, the Jefferson Street ramp. So that does not include all of the extra patrols that we provide in our community at those locations. On to the next slide, you'll see that we have, these are some of the discussions and information that I shared at the most recent Human Resources Committee meeting. I've had meetings with Washington Square Management, with Whipfly, with Leo at the library, the director of the library. And there are a wide variety of issues. They are daily issues. They range from loitering to urination, defecation, to fights, to aggressive panhandling, scaring citizens so that they don't want to come back downtown. I shared a couple of anecdotes and stories at the Human Resources Committee meeting about information that I've heard from citizens in regards to what they've experienced in the downtown and their concern for being in the downtown area as a result of some of the behaviors that they've seen and experienced from some of our individuals that are in our downtown area. I had the 400 block stage included on this slide. I just wanted to address that briefly. A number of years ago, the City Council passed an ordinance that was meant to alleviate an issue that we were having at the 400 block, and that is we had a lot of individuals who were using alcohol to a high level, were very intoxicated, were doing all sorts of inappropriate behaviors that citizens were concerned about. So the City Council passed an ordinance restricting alcohol use at the 400 block prior to 4 p.m. And that ordinance still stands in place today. But we have had a number of issues at the 400 block stage specifically this year with some of those same things occurring. And we've had a number of responses to the 400 block as a result of that. And you'll see some of that in the video that I have here. coming up shortly. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this, I just wanted to share a couple of pictures. This is just one example of a very recent incident. This occurred last week. And so you'll see where it says notes on the slide. Those notes are from our computer-aided dispatch system. Somebody called into the non-emergency line, talked to a dispatcher, and the notes there is what the person told the dispatcher. And the person that called is talking about that area underneath the bridge that you see there. So just to give you context of that location, behind Riverside Place, which is 11 Scott Street, and behind the library, closer to the river, or west of the library in 11 Scott Street building, is that bridge. So that's the Scott Street Bridge if you're traveling to the west side of the city from the east side. It is on the east side of the river, and so that's right along the River Edge walkway path, and you'll see the tent there, and then the other side of that tent, you'll see that barrier, and that picture on the right side of the screen is the other side of where that tent is. So it's immediately to the north of that tent, and you'll see that the person was calling in and concerned for their safety. It made them very uncomfortable. They saw a number of people sleeping there. You'll see that there are a number of people there even during the daytime, and that's just one example of the things that we're getting calls for. And so just to let you know that that is a park. That is designated as a park there, and so it is against city ordinance to be in a park after hours. And so Friday, after we received a complaint, we went down there. We talked to some of the folks that are staying there. We advised them that it's a park, that they're not allowed to be there after hours, and we warned them that we'd be back checking after park hours. After parks close at 11 p.m. So we warned them, we left the area, and then after 11 p.m. we went back there. There were a variety of different people there. One of the person there was one of the same people that was there earlier in the day, so that person did receive a citation for being in a park after hours. Everybody else that was new to that area received a warning and advised of the city ordinance. So that's just an example of something that happened very recently and how we handled that incident using the tools that the city council provides us in terms of ordinances. So I'll go ahead and bring up the video. I'll just give a precursor. It is a little long. I think it is about 29 minutes long. But it's one thing for me to sit here and tell you about all the things that people are experiencing in our community and the complaints and the concerns that we have. It's another to play a video and let you see for yourselves the types of the things that people are complaining about in our community and how they interact with officers when we respond there. Thank you. There is sound. There's not sound quite yet. You'll see the person in the Jefferson Street ramp there with a hammer. There should be sound here shortly when the officers appear on the screen. This is officers responding to that person with a hammer.
Hey, Chad. Yes? Can you put that on? Yeah, really? Really? All right then. All right then. Can you put the hammer? Oh my God. Nobody wants to do that, Chad. Nobody wants to do that, Chad. Chad. Get the on, bitch. Get the on. Chad, what's going on? Get the on, bitch. What's going on? Get the
Officers heard the hammer and they thought that they were gunshots, and so they're responding to that for assistance.
I don't want to hurt you, Chad. What's going on? Hello, you guys. What's going on?
Can you go through the fourth and go to the side?
focused on us. What's going on? We're directly north of you. Just be advised in case of a potential crossfire situation.
Chad, we're just here to talk. You put the hammer down for us.
I'm not here to hurt you. What can I do to help you, Chad? Does anyone have a good rapport with him? Chad, just take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath, Chad. What? I don't know how this goes. He's gonna know, he's gonna force through this door.
Snow, with the window?
I mean, you're right, what?
Back up, Chad. Back up. Spray deployed. Drop the hammer.
He dropped the hammer, he's up against the wall. You ready? Yep. Didn't have to be like this, Chad. Watch out, watch out.
He's 95. Spray deployed.
Ready to turn it off? No way. You did a good job. Get your second out of the Thanks for coming, Sheriff. You good? Good? Yeah. Good.
Hello, gents.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not bad.
All right. You guys know you're not supposed to be drinking on the 400 block, right?
Who's drinking? Not me.
Okay. Very good. All right, what's up with your buddy here? You need an ambulance? Me? Yep. Well, here's the deal. You either show me you can walk, or we're getting an ambulance. What's your first name?
Minding my own business.
What's that?
I'm minding my own business.
No, you're not. The reason I'm asking is you're being banned from the park. What's your name? This isn't over.
I didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
I just happened to come through.
Yeah, and you're up here drinking with the rest of them.
Why can't I just mind my own business? And
Because you weren't minding your own business before I got here. Okay, so either you start spitting out your name, okay, or I'll take you to jail for obstructing. Which you want it to be.
Fine, Michael.
You guys are drinking up and causing a disturbance up in a park where you can't drink. All right, all the people downtown are starting to call because you guys are sitting here, you're drinking, you're acting stupid, you're pissing, everything. Every day I drive by, I see you guys all hanging out here together. Okay, I recognize you guys from day to day. But do you think families want to come through Wausau and see that?
There you go, Chris.
Well, absolutely not. I wouldn't want my children.
Well, I will tell you something.
Yep.
You're one of the best officers I ran across in the Wausau Police Department.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that.
And I will tell you something.
What's that?
That means a lot to me.
Yeah, it means a lot to me too. But I want to see the best for you. Okay, and sometimes we got to be tough about it. All right, sometimes you need a kick in the butt, right?
Well, kick me in.
I will.
Kick me in.
What we're doing today.
Well, not really, because this is just a little. We'll be back here within an hour.
No, because I'm issuing you guys all park bans. And if you are, I'm going to take you to jail.
Well, what do you do? You think we give a about jail? Jail is good.
When people bring their kids down the 400 block or down by the gazebo and try to enjoy what Wausau has to offer, they want to come across you guys peeing in the bushes, puking on the stage.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
How do we solve that problem?
Not by arresting us, because that's just going to make us do it more.
Okay. We offer services that you guys refuse. What do we do?
What do you think we should do about it? Put yourself in our shoes.
Yep. Take the help that's offered.
Officer Lumber, I used to live at his house.
Yeah.
I want to tell you something. He ran me through and through this shit.
Okay.
And guess what? It failed every time. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Do you want to hear my perspective?
Nope, you don't have to. I'm going to tell you mine.
Okay.
Because I didn't want it to happen.
Fair enough.
Say no more.
Okay.
Say no more.
Fair enough.
I don't want to change.
Why?
It's not that I don't deserve it. It's not this, that, or the other thing. It's because I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and I enjoy actually pissing you people off because you guys cannot arrest me for nothing.
All right. You guys are free to go.
Yep. See you later.
Park bans. I'll find you and I'll issue them to you.
All right.
Can't hang out here either, guys.
Well, we're out of here.
The public doesn't, they don't understand this part of life.
Right.
You know, and are we gonna change you guys?
No.
Right, exactly.
Not overnight.
Unless you
Not overnight.
Not overnight, and not unless you guys want to change. You know what I was gonna say earlier? You didn't let me finish though. I don't know if you want to hear this from me, but Mark, when you were living in that house,
Yep.
you know how many times I saw you a lot more sober than I normally do?
Probably a lot.
A lot.
Because.
And I noticed a difference in you.
Because, I'll tell you why. I took it upon myself. I do notice a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm going to tell you something. I'm if I want to be.
If you want to be.
If I want to be, and I ain't got a problem being there. There's all kinds of scenarios, but the thing is,
All kinds of trauma.
when it comes right down to it, unless you want to make that change,
You're not going to.
You're not going to.
you know, I can continue to over and over and over and over again, unless
Yeah.
I finally say, hey, what's not working?
Right.
Mark's not working.
Yep.
Listen, we're both homeless. And I'll tell you something, we have more money than most people that work.
He was getting $1,800 a month.
Well, yeah, I know. I indulged in quite a few of $1,800.
Why not use that to get yourself in a house and, you know, all this other stuff?
Because we thrive on being out here. I'm going to tell you something.
Yep.
I adapted to this lifestyle. I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
I was housed on 2 or 3 different occasions. I always walked away
Yeah.
because I like it out here.
Yeah. But you can't enjoy us kicking you out of warm places. all day either.
Actually, to be honest with you, if you're bothering me, you're not bothering somebody else.
Yeah, but I would much rather be out there bothering a meth dealer than bothering you.
Well, you ain't got to worry about that with me. Well, you know, he does have a good one.
Yeah. I don't see it as bugging either.
No, it's just,
We're getting calls. And
it's more of an inconvenience for both of us. Because I'm not listening to you. You can talk and talk and talk all you want. I'll just.
Hello. Officer Pettis, Wausau Police Department. How are you girls tonight?
What the you want? What the do you want?
What's your problem? What's her name?
Your
Ma'am, sit down.
I'm not sitting down.
Is that bar belonging? Maloney?
None of your business.
Is it Barb Maloney?
None of your business.
Yes.
I don't give a say that.
All right, get out of the parking ramp.
Get you.
Get out of the parking ramp now.
You. Because I ain't got no one.
That's fine.
I'm not on probation.
That's fine.
So
Hit the elevator. And your name is Tammy?
yeah,
I appreciate your cooperation, Tammy. I'm a human being, so
you're paid.
that's fine. Sorry you feel that way.
You're paid.
Sorry you feel that way.
And I have no respect for you.
That's fine.
I know maybe one day somebody kills you.
Is that a threat to law enforcement?
Nope.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I kind of took that as a threat to law enforcement.
Well, I'm sorry you felt that way.
You know you can't be arrested for that, right?
I don't give a
You guys can see your way out.
We're going this way.
You're going this way, Barb. Barb,
No, we're not.
you are
We're
going that way.
We're going out the
Press the button and get the elevator.
Why are you here? Go somewhere.
Alright, you're gonna have to get up and get out of here.
I've been banned from the warming center for 10 days, so
Okay.
I don't know where to go on this.
Yeah, it's a bridge you can't burn when that's your last stop.
I know.
We don't have any other resources.
I don't know where to go.
Have you been to the Salvation Army?
There is one place I can go.
Where's that? Is it the Bridge Street Mission?
Yep.
Yeah, let me go. My car's parked right here. So let me go give him a call here quick.
Here's your other shoe. At least put it on so your feet can rest down on cold concrete.
So I just got off the phone with Ben. He's full tonight. So staying with him is not an option. Let me go try the Salvation Army and see what I can do, okay? All right, so I called the Salvation Army, they're full. Okay, however, I pulled a few more of my strings that I have, and I called the warming center. Okay, I explained to them the situation. They're gonna take it tonight. Okay? So I pulled a few strings.
I'm gonna try to get back into it. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so you gotta make me a promise.
Yeah.
I just went through a lot of hoops to get you
I'll
there.
be here myself.
Don't reverse it. If you want to pick up your belongings, I'll walk you up to my squad car and I'll get you over there, okay?
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Thanks, officer.
Absolutely.
Hello, how are you guys?
Hello, we're good.
Yeah, you're smoking inside. You can't be doing that. So that's a no-no.
We're not smoking inside.
Yeah, you are. I can smell it.
You're full.
No, I'm not.
That's Tammy.
Tammy? What's Tammy's last name?
None of your business. Shut up.
Okay, well, that's an interesting last name. What are we gonna do about this?
We're leaving.
Give us a warning.
Yeah,
We're
well,
leaving.
why should I give you a warning? You know you're not supposed to be in here.
Tammy.
The smoking thing makes me more mad.
No.
Tammy.
This is a nice building.
Get up. Cops right here.
Hold on a second, Barb. Hold on. Hold on.
No, there ain't no hold on a second.
No, there is a hold on a second. You're smoking? Barb. Stop.
Barb, come here.
Barb. Stop. Take your backpack off. Turn around.
No, get out.
Turn around. Put your hands behind your back.
Really?
You're an adult, Barb. Act like one, okay?
Barb, baby, deal with it. It's gonna be a...
With any luck, you might not be going to jail yet today, okay?
Yes,
So just relax.
that's what I'm saying. Just calm down.
Decide your
Get the
flight.
out of
Barb,
here.
don't even open up your mouth with me, okay? I've always been decent with you.
I'm gonna get Barb on here. Barb, do you have a phone number?
No.
Okay, do you have an address? Is that an avenue or streets?
It's a street, you girl. Stupid
Where is North Central Street?
you. Get this done.
Okay, I'll try my best. Barb, stop. Barb, stop. Come stand up here at the front of my car. You're not to leave. If you walk away again, I'm going to charge you, okay?
Come on.
I'm working on the ticket, okay?
Oh, hurry up.
I will. Can you please wait at the front of my car so I can keep working on it?
No, my hands are cold.
All right. If I take you out of handcuffs, will you stay cooperative?
Yes. Oh,
Go ahead and stretch out. You're not free to go. Okay.
oh,
Do you want to have a seat in my car?
no.
Don't blame you.
Come on.
Barb, stay at the front of my car. Stay at the front of my car. I know.
cold.
Stay at the front of my car.
Oh,
Barb, don't hit my car.
come on.
Barb, I'm going to put you back in handcuffs if you don't behave yourself.
Oh,
Here's a scoop, Barb. Non-mandatory court appearance, April 5th, 7:50 a.m.
yeah.
That's for trespassing in the ramp. Okay, there's a fine amount on top.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can go to your court appearance. Do you have any questions for me?
No,
Okay, you're good to go. You can't go back in the ramp, though. Barb, do you know anything about who was smearing poop on the walls in there?
no, I don't.
You don't know. And I'm cutting you a warning for smoking inside. You can't do that either. Don't smoke
Well, I
inside.
got something to tell you.
Go ahead.
Off.
Fair enough.
This is legit file proof. Bring it back.
I gotta figure out what it is. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
She went over there, now she's trashing that. She just went to the other side. We'll handle it, okay? I wrestled her last time, that's what it takes.
Barb. Out of the ramp. Out of the ramp. Barb. Barb. Get out of the ramp. Do you want to go to jail tonight?
No.
Get out of the ramp.
Okay.
You just got cited for this. You know better. Knock it off.
Once you're working together, your belongings, you're okay? Something's gonna change down here, this is ridiculous. Tammy, tell all your friends don't come back either, okay? This is off limits, zero, nobody's welcome here, okay? I know it's tough times right now, but gotta figure something else out. And if they want us to start arresting people out of these things, quite frankly, you'll just be in jail all the time, and we don't want that either, you know? There's a lot of jobs too. You can walk, you can work too. Huh? You're on Social Security? Okay. You can always volunteer to take up time in the day too, right? Places could always use volunteers.
Whichever one's more your style.
That was me. I was wondering over there that night.
Black one, this one looks like it was like hand knit. So, there you go.
one for you.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Should I give you guys a minute or?
Yeah, that would be kind of nice, man.
All right. You, Scott? All right. What's your name? Ma'am, what's your name?
Who am I speaking to?
What is it?
Who am I speaking to?
Officer Beddish with the Wausau Police Department.
Officer
What's that?
Who?
Beddish? What's your name?
I'd like to remain silent.
Okay. Well, at this point, you're going to be detained.
Or what?
Well, indecent exposure and not telling me what your name is. Scott, you've been told to get out of the ramp.
What?
You have been told not to be in the ramp? Yeah, you're going to be cited now, okay?
Hey, why is she just being insane?
Because indecent exposure and she's resisting me, okay? Or obstructing. She's not telling me who she is. Okay. What's your name, ma'am? What's your name? I know, you will get a citation, Scott. This will be a lot easier, ma'am. What's your name?
I'll say it in the car, but.
Why won't you say it here? Why can't you just give me your name? What's your name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer? Now, why was that so hard, Jennifer? Okay? It's just as easy as giving me your name, okay? You don't have any warrants or anything, okay? So, what was with all the trouble? You're not sure?
Seems like a lot of effort to go through. So, if you want to turn around, I'll take your handcuffs off. All right, Jessica. So, like I said, you were being detained because you were not telling me who you were. Okay? So that's obstructing. Okay? Because you guys were committing a crime. You can't be in the ramp. Okay? I'm sure you know that. So I know what you guys were doing. It's not my first day. So you are being issued a citation today.
So hopefully that helped you see kind of what the concerns and issues are. A lot of the first 25 minutes or so are from mostly Jefferson Street ramp responses, but also in that general vicinity. And those are all from this year, all from 2022, between January and April. And a lot of the stuff that was at the gazebo was from last summer. Just to give you some information about what types of things are going on there. And so I would say that there are a lot of similar activities that are being experienced at the Washington Square, at the library. These are not unique only to the ramp, but we see these types of things all over our downtown area. I do want to make a couple of comments. One is in regard to that first video that we showed that had the person with the hammer. If you note that he had the hammer in his hand, and the video showed that there was a citizen that was there, that the elevator opened, and he's standing there with a hammer before the citizen closed the door and went back down. In addition to that, that individual, he was arrested. He received he was given a cash bond by the judge of $2,500, which he subsequently posted. The $2,500 and is now out. He was one of the people that was down underneath the Scott Street Bridge that we talked to last week for being in the park after hours. I also wanted just to talk a little bit about my concern regarding some of the activity from groups that are trying to assist and help the individuals in the homeless population. We have some conflict with our ordinances and what people are helping people do. So, for example, we have an ordinance that doesn't allow being in the park after hours. However, we do have groups of citizens that are trying to get donations for things like camping gear and then encouraging people to sleep in the parks, which is a violation of the ordinance. We have people that are making food donations, but also along with that food, they're making food and alcohol donations to the individuals that are in our downtown area, which I think doesn't help us in resolving some of the issues we're experiencing downtown. I would say that at the last city council meeting, there was some public comment saying that we were violating Fourth and Eighth Amendment rights of the people that are that we're interacting with in our downtown area, and I just want to say that's not accurate. There's no violation of Fourth or Eighth Amendment rights. We're not criminalizing homelessness. We do make arrests and issue citations for things that are against city ordinance, and we do make arrests for things that are criminal acts, but we are not criminalizing homelessness, as some may be saying. And we often give many warnings before we ever issue a citation or make an arrest. So in regards to potential solutions, these are just thoughts that I have. Certainly this isn't the limit to what the potential solutions are, but I just wanted to throw a few things out there, things that I've thought about at least. So the first thing is that community outreach specialist position that the Human Resources Committee approved last week at the Human Resources Committee meeting. And so that will be moving forward to the Finance Committee for a decision. There has been community discussion and media reports around additional community service officers specific to the downtown area. I just want to put that out there that I think our community service officers, they generally work in the summer and not during from September through May. They are often college students who are aspiring to be in law enforcement, so it's a really good recruitment program for us, but they often just work during the summer when they're available. But they are very helpful in being in our downtown area and interacting with people and building relationships with much of the population that you've seen in the video here. And so there is, Washington Square has offered to help support financially those positions. As the police chief, I don't care where the financing comes from. If that comes from a business donor, I'm fine with that. If the city decides that they'd rather pay for that out of levy dollars, I'm fine with that too. But I think that is a need to have probably 60 hours a week or so of community service time in our downtown area. Some communities, and there has been some discussion in our community in regards to having a specific park designation, a location that people can be and camp and stay. I think La Crosse recently made that decision where they are allowing people to camp in parks. and not in every park, but in a specific park that they've designated. So that is something to consider. We've already kind of talked about the fourth item on there, which is the elimination of drinking in parks or specific parks, if that's of the will of the city council. We've done that at the 400 block, and that has diverted that behavior to different areas of our community. And then there is a draft, Assistant City Attorney Nathan Miller has drafted an amendment to our littering ordinance. And the purpose behind this was, we have an ordinance that restricts being in a park after hours. So we can and do enforce that being in park after hours when people are camping, in our downtown area. However, if we have the ability during the day to have conversations and have an ordinance that would prohibit them from having camping materials and depositing all sorts of garbage and that kind of thing behind, then we would then have the ability to have conversations and restrict people from being in the park camping during the daytime hours. So that's an ordinance that I asked the city attorney's office to draft, and there is a draft available if that's of interest to the committee as well. So that's my presentation. There's a lot of information there. I'd be happy to answer questions or talk further about it if that's the will of the committee.
I just have one question.
Well, hold on just a second. Okay, we'll go ahead with your question, Lou.
What were they burning down there? Were they burning, is there a grill down there that they burn in, or is they just?
Yes, there's a grill that they burn in down there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So thank you for the presentation, Chief. I think that at least helps us understand where we were going with what we are experiencing today. And I think it's evident that there's a gap between the success that we were seeing when Officer Lemerand was doing his outreach. I had read your report to the HR committee about the impact that his presence was having doing that outreach work, and it was reducing other types of negative police contacts with that same population, and it was also reducing jail commitments. So, I think that's a win-win. I think if the right person can build relationships with our homeless community and conduct that outreach, in a non-threatening manner, and whether that's an officer or a civilian, we've seen the success that can happen when it exists. Beyond that, though, I'm still serving on the Homelessness Task Force and connected with its affiliated agencies that are coming together to try to think tank some of these issues out. And, I think some of the things, that task force will be meeting in the coming weeks here to see really what else needs to happen coming into the summer season, especially recognizing now that the mall building is gone, and that really has, right or wrong, that has caused a disbursement of people who were perhaps in the mall during the day. There were restroom facilities in the mall during the day. That's gone now. And so obviously you need to go somewhere. So I think I'm going to at least start a conversation with them about the idea of some type of a day center. Obviously, local government shouldn't own it or run it, but I think that we could certainly collaborate with our nonprofit groups. I also think that as a community, we're evolved enough to recognize that there's a need for night shelter beyond the winter. And, I think that we need to get to a point where we recognize, and I think we already know, that just because it's 50 degrees at night and not 18 degrees at night still doesn't make it okay for someone to have their only option be a bridge or a park bench. So, I think we do need to work on some type of a night shelter option that doesn't go away just because it's spring. I think we have to figure that out. And, I also think that with the Community Partners Campus advancing its mission and starting to bring services together and connect them with people who need them, I think that we'll see that there's a more concerted effort toward getting people the help that they need without having them have to either figure out what services there are in the first place or spend entire days traversing the city trying to get that same help. So, I think there's positive things going forward. I think that, this committee and the council imposed the 4 p.m. restriction on alcohol on the 400 block, partly because the area surrounding the 400 block is public right-of-way. And so we were able to address that here. But with other city parks, that action is going to have to either be taken by our Park and Rec Committee or the County Parks Commission, or both. And so, if there's a request to add or to extend that 4 p.m. start time, to other parks, that'll have to be done in another committee. I mean, obviously not us, we don't have the authority to manage parks, but I think that if they wanted to make them all the same, that's something that that committee could be asked to consider or think about. Committee members, any questions regarding the chief's report? Go ahead, Doug, you have a question?
Sure.
Sure.
Well, first, speak to that, I'd oppose further restrictions in other parks, because this isn't everybody's, I mean, this is taking other opportunities away from law-abiding citizens. But to the shelters, or to the depictions that we had of people being forced out of the ramps, they don't all show where they ended up. I guess we've chased them different places, but, and some of them even express they don't have any other place to go. What do you do at that point when they don't have another place to go? And do we need to seriously think about a place to go where they're not under a bridge when it's 20 below zero? There's obviously, they're seeking heat. If we can put heat somewhere to keep somebody alive, would be much preferable than what we're doing now, chasing them out.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Mr. Denny. I think the answer is a multitude of different answers. As you saw in one example, it was a cold night. One of the gentlemen had been ejected from the warming center and banned from the warming center as a result of behavior for 10 days. And the officers came across him in the parking ramp. They called the Bridge Street Mission to see if they could get him in there. They called the Salvation Army to see if they can get him in there. Neither of those places were an option, so then the officer called the warming center and asked them, can we get this person into the warming center tonight? And they reluctantly accepted them on the request of the officer. So that's one example of what they do. If they think that if the officer believes they're going to freeze to death, there's no chance that they will leave them out in the cold to freeze to death. And I think the proof is that we haven't had anybody freeze to death as a result of officers' interactions. So some of the people don't want to be at the warming center. And some of these nights, there were people there was capacity at the warming center or the Salvation Army, and they chose not to go there. And because they chose not to go there doesn't mean that they can go stay in the ramp. We have a city ordinance against that. So some of these things you saw are in the middle of the day. The warming center's not open in the middle of the day. So there's a wide variety of issues and concerns, and they're individualized to the people that we're experiencing and encountering downtown there. I would say that I am concerned about the welfare of the individuals that that are homeless, that are unhoused. But at the same time, I'm concerned about the citizens that have to walk through that parking ramp with fear or can't use Big Bull Falls Park because of the behaviors that are going on at the gazebo. I don't remember the last time I've seen a family picnic out at Big Bull Falls Park because of the smell and the activity that goes on there. So that's my perspective on it. If you have any follow-ups, I'd be happy to answer them.
Does anybody have additional questions? Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I appreciate that response. I think maintaining one from freezing to death should be a fairly low bar. I hope we can all agree that would be, if there would be a place that would keep that without, the Big Bull Falls is probably our biggest gathering point, but I think if they had other places to go, they would go there if we provided it.
I think that's one thing that we should, and I think we'll have this conversation in the task force, and that's where the mayor and I are both on that task force, to really identify opportunities for where local government can partner with our aid agencies that provide services, and figure out first if there's barriers or roadblocks to them providing those services effectively. Is there a treatment for that we can negotiate within the committee, and our committees or our council, or even the plan commission, depending on what the roadblock is. Secondarily, is there room for us to partner on solutions? And so we found quite a few. I mean, the work that Eric Lemerand was doing wasn't happening in a vacuum. He was working with our aid agencies hand in hand. In fact, for a while, he was officing with one of them. And so I think that when we get the right people to partner with our private sector aid groups, I think we can make a positive impact. And I think some of this uptick we see is because we've got a big hole now where those services are not getting provided anymore, and that relationship that was built on trust and on follow-through. There was a lot of follow-up that was done. In fact, he was acting more as a caseworker than a law enforcement officer during those months, 18 months. And, I think that if we are successful in moving forward our outreach coordinator through finance and through council, I think that's a start to kind of get back on track. But that doesn't mean our work is done. So, we'll have discussions here. We'll have discussions at the council, I'm sure. The task force continues to meet. And, those solutions are multifaceted because there's not only aid agencies, there's law enforcement, there's county officials, there's city officials on it. There is North Central Healthcare is part of it. And so as that, when you get that kind of a roundtable where you have all of those perspectives represented, you can look at things from multiple angles. And I think that is really, where we need to go with the solution. But thank you for your report, because I think we all need to understand it deeper so that we can make good decisions like when requests like this come forward. So Park Committee, if they're asked to consider park rules, they can make whatever decision they choose to make. But, we don't manage the park rule part here. But, we may find ourselves asked to partner on things that I talked about, like a day center or some type of other night option. We don't know yet what those partnerships will look like. And so if we get asked, I think this conversation is material to us making an educated decision about what we want to participate in, as a municipality. And so, we come to a point where we've got a balance to achieve, because we have the role of facilitating the help and getting the right people around that table, but then we also have what some will term as a little bit of a crisis situation happening within our business community, where sometimes, depending on where you park downtown, your walk into work isn't so good. And so I think that, that balance is key, for us to find and for the council to find. This is certainly not our only discussion on the subject, but I think that we'll find, when we have our council retreat, I have a feeling the council president is going to ask us to prioritize things that we want to work on that our neighborhoods are concerned about. And if this emerges as one of those issues, then we have a task list. So does anybody else have anything about where we're heading? Because if not, we don't have anything. There's no actionable item with the chief's report. It was informational for tonight, so we don't have to act on that. We can move to our next item, which is discussion and possible action regarding Central Business District obstruction in right-of-way Canopy ordinance change. And so we have our zoning administrator, Bill Hebert, with us. Lemongrass is actually asking for a large canopy to extend over the sidewalk on 3rd Street. So Bill's got some information, and I think you've got some renderings in the packet here.
Thank you.
Hi, Bill.
Good evening. We have a short staff report here, and I worked with Assistant City Attorney Miller for some ordinance change. He did most of the ordinance change. And so we were approached by Mark Craig and the owners of Lemongrass, and to consider canopies that are greater distance into the right of way. So in our downtown area, we allow sidewalk cafes if they maintain a clearance. So canopies are actually allowed. Permanent canopies are, the difference between a canopy and an awning is retractable and a canopy is permanent. But in either case, the municipal code allows 7-foot obstruction over the right of way. Must be 8 feet above the sidewalk, 14 feet above the road. So Lemongrass would like to do some type of an enclosure, and we have some pictures here in this item. This is one of the front views of just standing at the street looking at the business. And then the next page is a side view. And if you don't mind, Chairperson Rasmussen, we could let them speak.
No, go ahead. I'd actually like to hear from them. Is this primarily, it looks like sun shading. Is it for sun shading? What? Because it doesn't look like it's going to keep out a whole lot of rain. I mean, it's pretty opaque, really. So if it's for sun, I mean, Lemongrass is on the west side of the street. So does the building not block the sun during dinner hours?
It's more for the, just the enclosure feel is what we were getting from the owner.
Like an extension of the dining room, basically? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So they can speak more to the materials, and we kind of staff went around, we met with them and kind of went around, and they shortened up the side enclosure to just be the planter width, and then the roof line, they've done a lighter material so that the natural light will come through. I think there's also a street light towards this road as well. And then we have some examples that we're given from Milwaukee. They're not the best, but it's what I could get off of Google Street View. But long story short, the basis of this is to allow a canopy to extend into the right-of-way more than 7 feet.
Okay. And this one would not be retractable, or it would be able to be removed?
The proposal is that the structure would stay for about 6 months out of the year.
And then be taken down in the fall?
Yeah.
Okay. Come on up, Mark, and talk with us about this. This would really be the first one of these. I mean, we've got a lot of unique things happening down there. I think with the rendering, there is a decent gap between the tables and chairs, and I think that's key, that people feel like they can still use the sidewalk when this thing is in use. I mean, I don't want people to feel like they have to step down in the road to go around it. They need to be welcome to go through. But talk to us a little bit.
Correct. I'm Mark Craig from Compass Properties. This is Rob from Wausau, Canopy. And Tuan is here from Lemongrass.
Welcome.
And, you know, outdoor dining has become so important everywhere around the country and in our community, no doubt, through COVID and beyond. And so what Lemongrass is trying to do is do an extension to create the atmosphere you see inside, outside, and do it on a seasonal basis, May to October. And so what this is just asking for an extension of that ordinance, and Nathan can tell us, I can't remember, was it 7 feet, and we're trying to get it to 14 feet? Yeah. So we went through a few renditions of what this could be and how it would look, but yes, it's to create some weatherproofing, right? Because that's a clear panel on the top, and a sense of place, right? So screening in and create a little sense of safety along the curb line. So I'll let Rob describe what it is, and Tuan tell him why.
Well, basically, there's a metal frame structure that you can see towards where the posts are out here. That would be either set into a concrete area below the bricks or be ballasted. We talked to Bill a little bit about which option would work the best. But that supports minimal frame around the perimeter, and the fabric attaches at the back and carries all the way to the front where there's a small truss system. You can see, if you look at the front there right above that screen, there's a truss system that supports that span. And we show in this rendering the front panels are retractable. So those are actual separate curtain systems that can go up or down. So it could be all the way up, which I think is what Tuan wanted to do for most of the period that it's up, and down if there's inclement weather or something like that. So
During the lunch hour.
or during lunch, so it can be down or up, whatever he wants to do. The top stays for the season, and the side could also have, I suggested on the mall side, the farthest side, you see a panel across there. Because the amount of wind that's now coming through that area from the mall being gone, it's quite a bit more than there ever was before. And so for the comfort of the patrons, if we keep that off the sidewalk, you'll see it's even with the planter. And that could create some windbreak, but that could be an optional thing that he could have or not have, depending on how you felt about that. And Bill had suggested that we didn't want to make the feeling that somebody was intruding in a space when they walked in there.
Right.
Like a regular pedestrian not going to the restaurant should be able to walk through without feeling that they're interrupting something.
Right.
And he thought, well, we'll bring those sides back, open the sidewalk up, and if we could create the open air feel over the middle of the sidewalk, that would be a lot more acceptable, and that's why we have that clear panel up at the top, so it lets the light through and a little more open feeling while still giving them a room that they want to create that situation where they can feel, you know, the aura they want for that dining area.
Okay. Would you install it then annually? I mean, every spring and fall? Is it professionally
Yeah, it's
erected
modular.
and removed?
Yes, it's a modular system, and there's a couple of ways we can do it. But everything breaks down at the end of the year and is stored separately. The
But
fabrics.
it would be a professional install and removal, so,
Yes, but once the original installation is in, everything is in place for it to basically be put back up in the same position fairly easily.
and so the concrete footings that would exist underneath the bricks, that's a permanent concrete, almost like a little sonotube or something that's put in there, or what?
Well, it would be a receiver for the larger posts that are in there. And basically, there's concrete under the bricks and below the sand that we could access to put a receiver in that could be capped with like a brass threaded plate and then covered and the pieces put back in again at the end of the season.
That was my next question, was
Totally
is there a trip
transparent.
hazard when this thing is out?
No,
Okay,
you wouldn't even know it was there when it's out.
okay,
On the walls, we have anchor points along the way that we can connect that line in the back for the fabric attachment. And there would be enough pitch created to run the water off. And we did give him he has the option of either making that a panel or fabrics that will shed the water, or it could be a tight mesh that would be more of a shade. I suspect that it would make more sense to make that solid and get the rain off of that. And that tensions to the front where the trusses are and to the sides.
and does it have some type of wind relief built into it so that it's not gonna, wind isn't gonna get up underneath and twist it?
Well, we have, Bill and I spoke about that a little bit. We can stagger those panels, which we don't show in there, to put wind relief between like the clear panel and the other one, so there's not a full panel being caught by the wind.
Okay, just
So
so that
wind
something
relief-
doesn't get a hold of it and spin it.
Oh, it won't spin it.
Well, and with people in it, I mean, you don't want it, you
Right.
don't want it coming loose.
Right.
Okay,
Right, that's what the trusses and all the anchoring points are in there. There's actually those, which you can't see in the drawing, but the primary post supports are actually 6-inch Schedule 40 steel pipe, structural pipe. And that's quite a bit of weight in those, as well
Okay.
as the anchoring points. So it's a solid piece when it's up.
okay,
But that's one of our biggest things is we have to, even though it's seasonal, we understand that the worst situations can occur any day. So it has to be built to take it as if it were permanent.
sure, okay.
Okay. Well, the reason why we want to do this for lemongrass is through COVID, my brother have a restaurant in California too, and so they have to, they won't allow people to go inside and eat. So we did build something like this similar in California, and people love it and enjoy it, and we want to bring it to Wausau also and do something different for, you know, the downtown area. And plus the way that it is right there, like during the lunch hour before, we do have problem with the sun shining. So we did have umbrellas and out there, but with the wind and stuff, it's always, you know, just knocking it down and stuff. So we just want to do something different and be more safe and
Sure.
stuff for the, yeah.
You have the sidewalk cafe permit now, don't you, where you serve outside already? This would just be a little larger area?
Yeah,
And so you then would also want beverage service out in this area?
yeah.
Okay, because I think this, you know, at least when I look at this, one thing that we look at with outdoor beverage services, is it easy for people to recognize when they are where they're supposed to be? Like where they can be and can't be? And, you know, I think something like this that has this look makes it easy for people to understand when they've arrived and when they're outside of a, like, boundary of sorts. So, you know, it's easy to understand with something like this that you wouldn't, you know, hop up from the table and head down the sidewalk because it's got a kind of a defined sense of place that belongs with your building. So, committee members, any questions for either the landlord, Wausau Canvas, or Tuan about this canopy? Chad, go ahead.
How many chairs or tables are you thinking of having out there?
So probably about 6 tables and probably, you know, four chairs per table, so.
Well, and outdoor dining was wildly popular downtown before there was a pandemic, you know, and it continues to be. And obviously that situation hasn't quite left us yet either. So what do you think about this one, committee? Go ahead, Deb.
I have three questions,
Sure,
actually.
go ahead.
Will there be any provision when it's spring or fall for heat? For like those outdoor lanterns? I mean, that's another
Yeah, they have those across the street sometimes too, so.
Like
Not
propane ones?
with the canopy, I don't think that would.
Probably not, okay. How about smoking? Yes, no?
No.
Okay,
Well, just as a side note, all the fabrics are fire rated.
okay. And I guess lastly, and this is probably more for the city, what happens when a group of kids come skateboarding through here? Is there an issue with them being in a proximity of drinking?
There's no skateboarding allowed on the sidewalks, but I think they'll enjoy it. And keep in mind, we do allow parklets in the 500 block. Lemongrass is not able to do a parklet on that side of the street, and this is a great compromise and a great look, and it's a substantial investment. This is what, $12,000? Today only
It also-
50% off?
It also adds seating, but doesn't take up a couple parking spots, which we've had some discussions on both sides of the parklet, where the people using the parklet love it, so, but this is a little different, but it kind of achieves a similar goal. Bill, and then Lou.
So, one thing I should back up. So with the obstruction permits, they're both in the same area, obstructions and sidewalk cafes. And both of them require that tables, that obstruction needs to be removed nightly. It also runs from, I think with the liquor license, which is July 1 through June 30th. So we did get a hold of, we left a voicemail for the owner of Oz, never returned our call. But regardless, I mean, it's going to be from July 1 till June 31st coming up here anyway, so.
Okay, so our permit would allow it year-round, but the practical application is that it really is warm season only. So voluntarily, they're going to take this thing out before winter.
So, yes, the problem is, it jumps around our ordinances so much. It's in chapter 5, it's in chapter 12. The sidewalk cafe is issued for the year, but this permanent canopy is proposed to only be 6 months.
Okay,
And then, as far as the structure and the right-of-way, we have I don't know what the proper term is, but we do require some proof of insurance that the city is,
named as additional insurance?
Yes.
Correct.
and then also, the city engineer would review any structure mounted in the right-of-way. on the
Okay.
sidewalk.
So there'd be collaboration then between our departments here and the installers and make sure that it's all done the way it needs to be done. So, Nathan. Go
So-
ahead, Lou, go ahead and then Nathan, sorry.
Thank you. So this would probably go through, I'm assuming, May 1st, October 1st, and that would be a
Close.
6-month period?
Yes.
Okay, I would make a motion that we go ahead and try this for 1 year.
Okay, what did Nathan, we'll take your motion in a second, and then we'll hear from Nathan.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion from Larson. If we approve it, it sounds like it's a full year thing, so I don't think we have to set dates on it, but, is your proposal that it automatically renew next year if it's not been a problem, or do you want a sunset date on it where we have to re-review?
I would say let's review it next year and see how it goes. I mean, see what kind of complaints we get, if there's any complaints from citizens trying to use the sidewalk going through there, or if, just give it a trial basis to see how successful it is, or how an inconvenience it may be to some.
Okay, my proposal then would be that we do what we did with the parklets and set the review date for November, like immediately after the end of the season, so everybody remembers how it went. We'll come back here, and then we can make a decision going forward, way in advance of them needing to put it back up again.
Good idea,
So we're
thank you.
not like May, and here we are, so we'll.
Right, good
so
idea, thank you.
November PH&S would be your review date then, if we decide to
Correct,
review?
yes.
Okay, do we have a second for Lou's motion?
I would second that
Second by
language.
Denny, and Nathan, go ahead.
All right, so Lou kind of hit one of the things I was going to talk about. So we define canopy as the structure that will be removed during the winter months from November 1st to April 30th. I just put those dates together. I was wanting the committee to, I guess, validate that. I don't want to be the person to say, well, why did we pick this date? Well, Nate did it upstairs. So if that date's great, fine, or otherwise I can change the dates. Two, since this is just the obstruction permit basically of kind of going hand in hand with this sidewalk cafe, each restaurant that's going to be doing this obviously is going to have to, show a plan and they're going to be accepted or denied.
Separate approvals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, on a case-by-case basis, it's just not, everybody's going to go now put them all up because Lemongrass did it. They're going to have to, do the same thing of show, how the tables and chairs are set up. And then obviously, I didn't touch any of those parts of the ordinances, but, there has to be a walkway through, it has to be ADA accessible. The tables and chairs have to come in at night. The canopy is just what's staying at night. Third, the last paragraph in Bill's memo, and this is something that I really want to highlight. So if you look at the zoning map that Bill also included in his things, so we're talking about the central business district here, and Lemongrass is zoned as,
I can speak to it too.
okay,
So the dark purple is downtown high-rise district. And those places are eligible for this. The lighter purple is downtown historic district, and our zoning district has a conflict. So many of those businesses along those 3, 4, and 500 block of North Third Street wouldn't be eligible as of today, according to our zoning code, to put this outside. It's a protection that we had for the historic district, or historic zoning.
To maintain the aesthetics of those buildings, I suppose.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
and so I wanted to highlight that to say if we are accepting this, not everybody in the central business district gets to take advantage of it. That would require then a zoning ordinance change, a public hearing, all of that.
Plan commission, all the
Yeah.
other hoops, and,
Yeah.
okay.
And
I
so
think
if that's what you then want to do, to me, it would make sense to do it all at once instead of piecemealing it. But
Okay.
again, that's up to you guys. It's just my thoughts.
Okay. Becky, go ahead.
I guess, I just want to be clear, where lemongrass is, the zoning is not an issue, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I guess I don't see that a need to go to planning and do this all over. I mean, I don't want to start opening up the floodgates.
Well,
where everybody, decides, they want to do something. I doubt they will at that price point as well. I don't know. I mean, I'm certainly pro anything we can do, like the parklets and things like that, but I'm for this, but I don't want to go all out and say, well, they want to do this, so let's change planning. Let's go to planning and change zoning, because that just starts down a slippery slope too. We don't know what else comes by changing zoning in that
I agree.
district.
I'd like to know what the results of it are first. This one is our test subject. And, obviously, if we're going to do a re-review of our results in November, before we would start to amend zoning ordinances in other areas, I think I'd want to know what our experience has been with this first one, because we've never gone this route before. Just like the parklet, it's all new. At this size, it's new anyway. So, Jeremy, did you have a comment? Or no? Okay. All right.
One
Sorry.
last question,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Sure.
So if we approve this, how quickly can you ramp this up? We're already into almost June, so where do you think you'd be?
It's hard to say. We're sitting on this one for a while waiting, but we would try to get up as soon as possible, but it probably has, at least several weeks of production.
So I guess my point, we'll have enough time to model this and get a good feel for it this summer before we have to take it down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if the committee approves it tonight, my guess is it would go to the first council meeting of June. And then once they have the approval, then they're ready to go. So in the meantime,
Would it go to the May 24th meeting so that he can start construction?
can it? That's my next question is, can we summarize the minutes of this meeting in time to put it on for Tuesday night? If we can, it's.
Be really nice to her.
Yes, we all will owe Mary a big thank you. So,
Can I just say?
Sure.
Before it goes to council, could you connect with DPW? I think that the council would like to know that everything's okay with DPW with those concrete stanchions or whatever they are on the sidewalk.
engineering.
Yes,
It has to look
engineering,
at
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, yes,
So
that-
that would make it a clear
Yes.
story to the council.
Okay, I think that's, okay, that's perfect. All right, so we had a motion and a second on the floor to try this for this season, and then we would issue the permit for a year, and we would review the results of that effort at the November Public Health and Safety meeting, and then at that point, make a decision as to whether or not we can make that item permanent. Did I miss anything? I think are we ready? Okay. Then let's go ahead and vote. Members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None are opposed. That motion carries. Thank you, everybody. There was a lot of time and effort put into that. I appreciate the background. You bet. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Let's see here. So then that brings us to item number 10, which is discussion and possible action on request to permanently amend section 8.08.010, certain creatures forbidden, subsection D, exceptions, goats. And so, yep, Director Polly is here from Park Department and the mayor's here. You'll recall last summer, they tried this little experiment on Barker Stewart Island where they brought in these goats and they were super popular. And it sounds like they did the job that they wanted them to do. So I think their goal here is to make that an annual event, correct? Come on up, Jamie. Thanks for hanging in there with us. I know it's a little late.
No, thank you. It actually worked out. I had to run my son to soccer at the sports complex and was able to come back before I have to pick him up. So,
Yay.
Thank you for this. Yeah, we're bringing this forward. Last year, it was just allowed as a temporary change to the ordinance for 1 year. We did test it. I put in my memo that we felt that it was fairly successful. We had really cut down the vegetation the winter before, so we didn't see as much impact from the goats as we normally would have had we had left it. But we needed to do some management ahead of time because it was beyond under control there. So talking with our farmers and our city foresters, we do feel that it has been successful, and this year now we'll have more vegetation coming up, but they did make an impact. And talking with other communities, it is a multi-year thing. This is invasive species are very, very hard to get rid of, so it's something that we'll have to continue to do. But we'll look at it every year. This may not happen every year, but what we're requesting today is that we can make this change to the ordinance permanent so that we can continue it when we feel the need is to bring them in for Barker Stewart Island or maybe for other areas we don't have plans for any other areas right now, but we have other invasive species on areas similar to Barker Stewart where we potentially could use this on. So that's what we're asking for. In addition with that, it's the change to the ordinance is also about the petting zoo part of it. That goes along with when we have the goats there, it's nice to have a day where the community can come see them. It was highly successful last year, and it allowed us to take a few goats out. And we did goat yoga and had people kind of pet the goats and all good stuff.
It just, I love, these things make us smile. I mean, these are the fun things that the committee can do. And, the feedback that I got was that people liked the fact that it was unique and it was different, but they also liked the fact that we were able to make an impact on invasive species without the aggressive use of pesticides, or herbicides rather. So I think that it was a win last summer. I was, at first I was skeptical and I'm like, is this really going to work? But I got a lot of positive feedback about it, so.
Yeah, and I think as our city forester said, that I put in my memo too, people use the island. I mean, we had a lot of people go out on the island that probably wouldn't have before because it's dark sometimes and a little sketchy, but we're cleaning it up. That's the goal. That's the goal, is to get people to utilize our parks. And that's one of our parks, and it's a connection. It's a little unique island of trees in the middle that people can enjoy, so.
Sure. Committee members, questions for Jamie? Go ahead, Doug.
Sure, I support this. I think it's worth a try, but I would like to know how do the goats know which are the good and which are the bad, or they get everything? And
they do get some that they're not supposed to, but it's very interesting when we talk to the farmers. They're very picky. Goats are very picky, and they really like those really woody plants, which happen to be the invasive ones. Now, they did knock down a few of our fences, and they got some tamaracks that we had out there, which we'll replace and fence off. But for the most part, their preference is the bad stuff. I don't know why they like it, but they do.
It's good for us that they do.
Yep.
Lou, go ahead.
So, basically, these goats are in a fenced-in area, and you can still walk around, the public is still able to walk around the park during the park hours,
No.
during the week.
When we had them there, we had the fence straight across. So the north half of the island was blocked off. They could not walk that trail loop around. They could walk the main trail across the bridge onto the island and then south, but they couldn't actually go on the north part because we just put the fence from basically water's edge to water's edge. This year, we may look at doing it in smaller sections. Our forester's working with the farmers to maybe not have them all on the whole big area at one time. So there might be more opportunities for people to use part of the island while we have them on one side, and then part of the, we're still working out that plan, but last year it was straight across.
Thank you, Ms. Polly.
Okay. Additional comments? Do we have a motion to approve? Not everyone at once.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Denny and a second by Larson. Seeing no further comment, members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? None are opposed, that motion carries as well.
All right, thank you.
Item number 11 is discussion and possible action approving updates to the City of Wausau's Americans with Disabilities Act Title II policy, accommodation request, notice, grievance procedure, and complaint form. And I'll turn that over to Nate.
All right, so back in 2018, these were basically approved by the council at that time. Since then, the city of Wausau has engaged a service to basically go around and have all of our parks and buildings assessed to see any sort of ADA barriers that need to be addressed to make us be compliant. So we've been meeting quarterly basically since that March 2018, and we're making very, very good progress. But at these meetings, CIVMIC also attends, and they kind of just suggested that we take a look at our policies and update them. And so that's what these updates are. They're very similar to what they were this time around, though. There were a few parks that were not in the accommodation request form. Obviously, also since then, we now have the new fire station, and then we no longer have the other fire station that replaced. So it was kind of swapping those out. Before, the ADA coordinator was the city clerk. Now it is just the ADA coordinator, which is me. And so there's a different email address, a different phone number. So it's just little things like that. In the policy as well, I added basically where we're at now with the updates of the self-assessment that the city underwent and where we're at then with fixing those barriers. And so that's really what these documents are.
Okay. Any members' questions for Nate on any of that? If not, is there a motion to approve the changes? Motion by McElhaney, is there a second? Second by Henke. Further discussion? Members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None are opposed, that motion carries as well. Item number 12 is select 2 members to serve on the Liquor License Review Subcommittee. We've had that subcommittee for a number of years. It contains representation from the fire department, police department, the clerk's office, the city attorney's office, and then 2 members of this committee. And that committee only meets as needed. We don't review existing licenses midstream or at renewal, but they do review new license applications for Class B beer and liquor licenses. Also, when there's changes of ownership, where one owner is maybe surrendering a license and someone else is perhaps buying the place, that gives us time to talk with those owners about their experience and the expectations that we have, and allows them to ask questions. And so that is really helpful for people starting up in business to understand first what we expect, and then to learn kind of what our rules are and what our license holders are asked to uphold. So we need 2. Does anybody want to make a nomination?
Who's currently on it?
I was on it and Pat Peckham was on it. So he's not an option. He would probably do it. Yes, he might. He did seem to enjoy it. Yeah. So he might be watching us at home right now. We don't know. So anyway, so do we have a nomination?
I'll volunteer if there is no nominations.
Okay. So Alder Larson has volunteered himself. I'll volunteer myself if there's no additional nominations.
I would gladly nominate Lou.
Okay, there's a nomination. Do we agree by well, I guess we'll vote on it. Is there, I guess, well, We really don't even vote on it, really. I mean, do we agree to cast a unanimous ballot to appoint Lou and I to the Liquor License Review Subcommittee?
Yes.
Okay. We nodding?
Yes.
We're all good? Okay. All right. So then, for 2 years, we'll fulfill that obligation as well. We try to have it meet the same night as this, so that we don't have so many extra trips to City Hall. And so Mary will let me know when she needs one. There's a few coming up. I think we're going to need one soon here.
Yeah, we do need one. They really wanted to do it tonight, but because we didn't have it, Callan Street Pub, Gerald Herzog has owned that for a long, long time. I believe he wants to retire, and he is selling the business, and what's different about it is he originally got a reserve license, so he paid that 10 grand up front. And according to state statute, once a reserve, always a reserve. So someone coming in, if there's no regular licenses available, has to pay $10,000 again, and that makes it really hard for them to change a business. It happens that we have a couple available licenses, so this applicant will actually be applying for a regular license, so that would take that reserve and put it back in our case. But I believe they want to take over. I think the closing of buying the building from Gerald is in July, like July 7th or 8th. They did want to go through this one. I suppose they want to know if they're going to get approved before they move on, but.
Is there, I guess you could check and see if the stuff could be ready prior to, perhaps we could, I guess we could survey for quorum too, but council meets, when is the first council meeting? Is it the 10th of June? No.
14th.
14th.
The only one in June.
So is that too late for them? I mean, I know finance meets at 5:30, but we could maybe get it in ahead of finance because normally those meetings are less than a half hour.
Well, I think once it goes to the liquor license review, if they're going to approve it, it's usually going to just.
It's going to have to come here.
It'll probably keep going forward, so at least they have a pretty good idea. I don't see that there's going to be a big problem with it, but.
Well, and the June Public Health and Safety is the 20th?
Yeah, that's getting kind of late, but.
So, right, because that would give us June 20th and then June 28th for council if we followed that schedule.
Well, in summer, there's only one council meeting, so.
So we don't even, right, then we're into July. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Could we have a special public health and safety between finance and council?
Yeah, I think we probably could. We'd have to survey for quorum, but we'd have to see if we could do like the subcommittee at 4 o'clock, the public health and safety at 4:30, and then, or vice versa, maybe 4:30 and 5, and then finance starts at 5:30. But if we made one long day of it, Mary can email.
They have
for quorum,
already
so-
filed their application and their plan of operations, so I already have everything from them.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you just, I guess, email for quorum, and if we know that we can get everybody for that night, let's try to plan for that.
Now, which night was that, for June
That's
14th?
June 14th, so we would do, say, the subcommittee at 4:30, public health and safety at 5 o'clock, and then finance at 5:30?
Public health and safety at 4:30, you said?
Liquor license review subcommittee at 4:30.
Okay, subcommittee.
And then PH&S at 5, and then we run right up to the start of the finance, if that would work for everyone?
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
Does that sound like it's a problem on the surface, Lou? You think we'd be okay to?
I'm good with it.
I mean, we're all coming here anyway that
Right.
night, so we just come a little early. Okay, all right, let's tentatively shoot for that. Okay, then next on our agenda is the operations report from the fire department for April of 2022, copies of which are in the packets, and any notable items on the report that you want to talk about, Jeremy?
There's not a whole lot that's new. For the new members, just to explain a little bit, we started this monthly report about 6 months ago so that we could present this report to not only you, but the Police and Fire Commission, to give a little bit more insight as to what we do day in and day out, and keep track of things and make our annual report a bigger success than it's been. We've been away from the annual report for some time now, and bringing it back between Chief Bartek and myself. So I guess with that, if you read the report, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'll leave it at that for the sake of time.
Okay, any questions on the fire report? If not, we'll place the report on file. We don't have to take action on that. Then we've got, the next one is Tavern activities report is item 14, April 1st, 2022 through April 30th, 2022. And that report this month looks pretty standard. You'll see that there's some notable incidents. They give us a little synopsis of things that happen at the bars. If they go out and do compliance checks, we get some results of how that went. Compliance check is when they have a 20-year-old underage person enter an establishment with an officer using their own ID. And then if the establishment sells to that person, obviously there's demerit points to be assessed for that and citations to be issued. So, Lou.
As I was looking through this earlier today, I would kind of like to be familiarized with the demerit system and how many demerit points can you get against you before your license is in jeopardy?
We actually could do a presentation on that at the next meeting if you want, and bring that ordinance along. We all should see it. And so there's all kinds of things that they can get violations for, and I believe the demerit system is published in the municipal code. But the police department, they have one officer, is it still Lieutenant Felder, does the report. And so when incidents happen in taverns that are of some sort of seriousness that fit that profile, he then will review the reports and then decide if demerit points are necessary. And having it done that way removes the politics out of it, because we are not involved with either assigning or removing demerit points. And they're not appealable. The owner of the tavern can't come and appeal to us to take the demerits away. If they got them, they got them. It's a 12-month running total. So a year after a demerit point issue occurs, that event comes off. And it obviously could be replaced by other things. But most often you'll see there for all sorts of things like open after hours, allowing underage people on premises, alcohol on the streets. Server under the influence is one of them. And then there's some serious ones where things that, like failure to summon police, when there's weapons involved, there's enhancers for that. Drug trafficking, there's stuff for that. So there's all sorts of things they can get demerits for. And the process that we've followed is that we monitor their totals, but if any establishment reaches 100 points, then we ask the owner to come and meet with us here in the committee for a formal expression of concern. And so that owner then is asked to come and meet with us and talk about how they've gotten to this point and what their plan is to improve things going forward. And so we always want to work with the owners and have them do better. I mean, our goal is not to put people out of business. Our goal is to have them operate their places safely and within the law so people can go there and have a good time and emerge unscathed. So we always want the owners to work with us. And we've had some that we've had come in for those expressions of concern that really have gone back and turned things around, and we've not seen them again. We've had others that have been in a couple times, and sometimes there's quite a length of time in between those visits. We have one coming up at our next meeting. Last month, we decided to Nooch's Eatery on Merrill Avenue is at 100 points. They had a fairly serious event that took place in April. So we've asked the clerk to send out those letters, and so at our next meeting, we'll be seeing him and talking with him about that situation and management of the place. So, but we certainly can do a little presentation on that ordinance, and we can bring the chart along that shows what violation is worth how many points. I believe that's published in the code, so.
Yeah, it's 5.64.078, but we can do a presentation.
Yep.
But it's all there.
Yep, and I think it maybe also too a little bit of background on Chapter 125, which is the Wisconsin statute that governs licensing. Local municipalities have a ton of control to manage licensing, and that's a good thing, because we really are able to be very nimble with how we can work with our establishments to make sure that they are adhering to our expectations, but also we are the best unit of government to manage these processes for our business community. And so with the exception of Cocktails to Go, which passed in Madison during the pandemic, that usurped local control. I mean, as a council, we fought that because we wanted locally to be able to continue to manage processes like that. And but Madison passed that. There was a strong lobby for it, but other than that, we've retained positive local control. So we'll get a little presentation on that for you guys for next month as well. Let's see here. Item 15 is communications. I have none. Does anyone have any communications? If not, then our next item is adjournment. We made it. Motion to adjourn? Motion from Henke, is there a second? A second by Larson. Members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Or nobody? We'll stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.